Hello, everybody. My name is Raniero Kelly, as you can see on the slide, and I'm the president of Sofia Research and Innovation, which is an association working in the area of European programs. And myself have been involved in this kind of activity for about 30 years now. And the goal of this presentation is to share with you some of the things I've learned in all of these years, and especially in terms of how to make up the budget for an European project proposal. So this module is structured into four main parts. In the first one, which is the one you are looking at now, I provide an introduction to the budget preparation. I give you the general frame, the general rules, and we start analyzing the so-called eligible costs, those costs which we can charge in the frame of a European project proposal. And we start, for a number of reasons which we'll see later on, by analyzing the personnel cost. In the second part, we look at the other kind of costs that can be eligible, that are eligible, such as travel cost, equipment cost, indirect cost, and so on. In the third part, we look at how you operationally build up the budget of the proposal, the main phases which are involved in the budget preparation. And in the last part, I give you a couple of examples of how to calculate the so-called co-funding rate and how to set up a proposal budget. And in order to do that, I have taken as an example the Horizon 2020 program, which is the most relevant one from the point of view of the overall budget allocation, and it's a very typical one. So let's start with this presentation. The first thing is that I would like to provide a couple of general considerations about the budget. So at the proposal stage, we need to prepare a detailed budget for several reasons. The first one is that, of course, the European Commission will evaluate our proposal, and it will take into account also the amount of budget that we are requesting, the amount of money we are requesting, just to see if it is appropriate for the kind of activities that we are proposing. But also we have to do it for ourselves, because we have to understand whether we are able to bear the cost, the co-funding, to deploy all the resources which are necessary to fulfill this budget and so on. Of course, the budget preparation requires the cooperation, the participation of all the partners in the consortium. As you know, in European projects, typically you need to involve a certain number of partners, which can be 3, 5, or even 20. And therefore, we start by analyzing the eligible costs, those costs which the Commission will accept that we charge to the proposal. The co-funding rates, most of the projects require co-funding. They are not funded at 100%. They might be funded at 50% or 70%, and therefore we need to provide a certain amount of co-funding. So let's look now at the eligible costs. This list, the cost categories which are accepted by the different programs varies according to the program, and therefore in each case you must, when you afford a new program, you have to verify what is the list of eligible costs that you can use, that you can charge. This information is normally found either in the guide for participants or in the contracts or on the website of the specific program. Be careful, because this type of rules can change even within the same program from one line of action to the other one and from time to time. If you participated in a certain call last year, you cannot be 100% sure that the rules will be exactly the same this year. So normally, as I said, this list varies from a program to program, but normally the following categories are always present. The personnel cost. As you will see later on, there are several ways of calculating this cost, and they are normally most relevant, the highest cost item in the whole cost system. Travel costs, equipment cost, other costs, subcontracting, and indirect costs, often called also overheads. So these are the typical categories that you can find in a proposal, and we are going to look at them one by one. We start with the personnel cost. Why do we start with the personnel cost? First of all, because usually, I have to say usually because, as I said, the rules change from program to program. But in most cases, the most relevant component of the project cost is constituted by personnel costs. They can go up to 60 or 70% of the total. This is because, of course, the Commission promotes projects where they want the brains of the people to be put at work more than the arms, and also because we start from this category because they are the most difficult one to evaluate exactly. In fact, the cost may vary within the same organization. The cost of a single hour worked can change according to the level of the person. Of course, it can change within the same country, going from an organization to another organization. And of course, it can change between countries. The cost of 1 hour worked in Italy is different to that of Sweden and to that of Albania. So it is a difficult matter. In order to simplify this exercise, this evaluation, we use normally the concept of person time. What does it mean? From the point of view of the cost, it is about the same to have on a certain activity one person who works full-time for 6 months, 3 people working for 2 months each, even non-consecutively, 6 people working for a month each. Now, it is not said that it is always possible to do this distribution of effort over the different activities. It is not said that we can always parallelize activities and therefore having 3 people working on the same activity for 2 months. But in case this is possible, we could even have one person working half time for 12 months on the project. In all these cases, the cost of the activity is said to equal 6 person months. Now, one of the things which needs a lot of attention is that you should never confuse the duration in time of an activity with its cost in terms of person months. In fact, I've shown you in the previous slide that a 6 person months activity can last 3, 6, or even 12 months, depending on the amount of human resources that we put into it, depending on how many people work on it, and at what percentage of their time. I can have people working full-time, I can have people working 20%, 25% of their time, and so on. So, in order to simplify things, when we evaluate the budget, when we set up the budget of a project, we express the personnel cost in terms of person time. As I said, these rules change from a program to the next one. So the 2 most commonly used options are either person days or person months. Once we have evaluated the cost in terms of person time, we have to convert them into their economic value, into euros. And this can be done using a number of models, which we will see later on. So this is the end of part 1, where we have provided some information on how to evaluate the personnel cost. In the next part 2, we are going to look at the other categories of costs which are allowable in a project proposal.